Legendary moments will be captured. So stand up, scream, and make sure the boys feel you.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
What is going on, Cowboy Nation? Welcome back to Primetime Studios. Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Phil, and like always, there's my co-host, Gametime Bryan. Gametime, welcome back to Primetime Studios. I know it's the off-season, but, man, week 2 of the off-season because, of course, the season is still going. Super Bowl right around the corner. Of course, Super Bowl week where you get interviews, and this past weekend was Pro Bowl activities. I don't know how much of that have you watched. I didn't watch, maybe a single thing of it yet. I eventually will go back and do it, but yeah, we're winding down the end of the NFL season, but of course, we're cranking up in the sense of what the news that comes to the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, Bryan, before I start going into all that, Bryan, just say hi to the folks. Do I have you muted? Are you muted?
How is everybody doing on this fine Saturday evening in February? I can't believe it's February. Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm frustrated with my team, but I'm doing good, Phil. We're going to be all right. We're going to be good. We're going to be good. Anyway, I'm all right, man. I'm just frustrated. You got a lot of news to get to, and curious to see where you stand on it. So.
There's definitely some stuff that's popped in my head. Of course, we were talking about Dan Quinn and the possibilities of his. We talked about Seattle, we talked about some other ones, but me and you, we definitely agreed that the most tempting job out there was, of course, the Washington Commanders. I was about to say the other name.
Mark kind of poo-pooed it.
What do you mean?
Well, like the Washington Commander job, I said, I don't. They have a lot of assets, man. I see it totally different. The stadium is the least of Dan Quinn's concern. His number 2 pick he got, and that's number two
each round. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say as well too.
You got a handful of studs on your team, and I think that's a lot to work with. So, but we'll break it down.
I mean, you can turn around and get your franchise quarterback with what position you sit, whether you're sitting, trading back, you can still get somebody there. But man, what a week! There was one job, position available. I think there's a lot of people that are talking about how with all these other coordinator positions being filled, some of the defensive coordinators from different teams that were doing really well. Being able to defend the motion and stuff, I think those are the guys that are a little bit more hard to come by. But when they talk about these defense coordinators, a lot of them got hired already, so the process is already kind of gone. So when this news comes out, I think initial Cowboy fans are just kind of like, who are we going to get? Who's the bottom? We're at the bottom of the barrel. This is exactly what the Cowboys like to do in the sense of the, even if we were in the hunt for the head coach, would we have been one of those guys that signed it? Or, defensive coordinators. Here you go, already jumping the gun one season before. But when you're talking about these, would we have been one of those guys that signed somebody early, or would we have been still in the position of we're waiting and trying to get a bargain?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for something, but I'm not holding my breath. I expect something. I feel like they're going to do one move. Honestly, they're going to make one really big move and then shut it down. But, we'll see. I'm not going to criticize until it's time to criticize. But if past practice is any indication, I don't know.
Well,
we're off to a bad start with the lame duck coach, and you're not going to really. Let's face it, Phil. You're not going to attract any young talented coordinator to come here with a lame duck coach. So I think Glimmerman is right. I think that's going to be our guy, Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I would agree when we look at the candidate. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the candidates as we see them. Of course, you talked about Mike Zimmer. You brought him up on your your side, your videos, and everything like that. And a guy that definitely it catches my eye because I love the discipline that he has. He yells at people, kind of just something what I think a defensive coordinator should do. Kind of has to watch a little bit more with that age and stuff. But again, somebody that's already had the ties with Dallas, and even when he was with the Vikings, he had a really good high defense of ranking. So I mean that's something.
And he can relate to the young player. I don't know if people realize this. He was on Deion Sanders' staff at Colorado. It's not like he's been out of the game sitting at home. He has been.
Well, more recently, I think a lot of people like jump on the fact, well, why isn't he be hiring anybody? I mean, the guys, if you followed anything in his life, he's just had definitely some bad stuff that's happened more recently with his, kids and stuff, and
his wife and his son died.
Yeah, and so
everybody needs to slow down on
how much
that.
How much do you really want to do anything? And so, if he's eager to come back, he's eager to coach,
this.
he likes the position.
I want him to get the job. He needs it.
And I mean, let's be real, guys. I mean, it's with McCarthy not having that guarantee of anything past this year, unless you're a defensive coordinator that thinks that you can get somebody like, let's say, for example, to me, Mike Vrabel, if you get him in here as a defensive coordinator, now that's somebody that you're thinking, okay, could possibly be the head coach that steps in, whether it's an interim, any of that kind of stuff, midway through the season or beyond. But when you look at guys like Ron Rivera that have been brought up, I don't see that being a transitional type of thing.
I'm a little concerned with the Ron Rivera. And I want to talk about 4 guys specifically, but you brought up Ron Rivera. That would be my 5th guy that I would want to talk about. I understand it was a bad situation in Washington. I didn't like his deer in the headlights look. For most of the year, he just didn't seem like the old Ron Rivera of old. I'm not saying he is, but just from afar, it didn't seem like they were listening to his message, and it didn't seem like he had a lot of passion. But again, that's from afar. I don't know. I'm out on Rivera. It's just me personally. I don't dislike Ron. I like Ron, but some of his choices and just his coaching is a little sketchy, man. His defense was horrendous this past year. It's not like he didn't have the blue chip talent, at least in my opinion. So I don't know. That's how I feel.
Who's also, if you're putting Ron Rivera on fifth, who's the other
you got
guy?
Zimmer. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are all the guys here. You got Zimmer. You got Vrabel, which you can. I'm curious to see your opinion on Vrabel. You got Rivera. You got Wink Martindale, and you got Al Harris. Those are your 5 candidates that are realistic.
Okay, so when I look at it, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Wink Martindale or whatever like that from the New York Giants. I'm not. Yeah, I'm. Just he likes to put pressure, and I think that's something that we could have really definitely done in the playoffs. He hasn't had the talent. He really hasn't had the talent around him over there in New York to kind of just judge him. But it's the body of work right now, and just seeing New York get gashed week in and week out. But again, not a whole lot of talent, so it's hard to evaluate exactly what's going over there. When it comes to Mike Vrabel, man, that's probably my second choice. I think I do like the Zimmer choice just because he holds people accountable. And then
okay, you had Joe Witt. I got you.
So Joe Witt I have up there just because I think he's a Mike McCarthy guy.
He's right. He is a candidate. I forgot about him. So, I just assumed he was gone.
No, I think Al Harris is probably going to be your guy that's going to be gone. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either if Al Harris ended up staying. I mean, to me, Al Harris going to Washington would make sense because if you're going to jump him into any kind of defensive coordinator position, already having a head coach that would oversee the defense really in Dan Quinn, I think that's where Al Harris could be the defensive coordinator and then get that title and then get the experience behind it. So I I love, and I brought it up the last time. I think that what I love about Al Harris is just what he does for the players. What he's always trying to better each player. He looks at their skill set. He kind of, hey, this is going to benefit you. Looks at the offense, says, hey man, this is what you're giving away. You need to work on this. So, hey, I'm a person that I wouldn't mind it. It's the uncertainty of what Al Harris is going to. Is he going to understand situational football? But let's be real. I mean, Dan Quinn.
Is he ready to be coordinator though?
I mean, he's been in that situation enough, long enough. I mean, I think calling plays is. I think the best thing for Al Harris is to be with Dan Quinn or a defensive coach where he could be the coordinator, but also, that you go to Washington as the D coordinator. That you're going to be sitting down doing game plans with the head coach. That's what he does. I think that's a best case scenario. We don't know that he could dial up a defensive scheme plan. I'm not saying he can't, but I haven't seen it. That's my only fear with Al Harris. Joe Witt, that you would think that's the guy that McCarthy would want. He was with him in Green Bay. They have a pass together, but Joe Witt wants out of here because, again, the Joneses have put McCarthy in a lame duck situation that nobody wants to be here. They want to have job security beyond this upcoming year. Mm-hmm. They don't even know if the quarterback is here long term. They don't know anything. This is the Joneses. So you got to understand. So by that definition, if you're trying to, you only get 1 year. You're bringing in a guy like Zimmer, where
that's why I said Zimmer.
Or you could also elevate a guy like Al Harris, because what do you got to lose? If you're only going to do it for the year and everything, you might as well see what he has and what he has the motivation. If that's kind of what you're going in by the year, then I don't see the harm in that. I mean, you're kind of throwing away this year a little bit by not committing. I get it though. I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to swallow that pill when he's had 12-win seasons. So I don't see McCarthy on that chopping block like a lot of people do. Then
they should extend him and stop it with all this, because it's not helping Mike. It's really not. Extend him out.
Yeah.
You don't leave a coach coming on the final year. I got news for you, Phil. Sorry, that was one of my alerts. I got news for you. The one thing that's going to happen, if they bring in, let's say they bring Zimmer in, it won't be a 1-year deal. As soon as they do that and bring in a Mike Zimmer, probably on a 3-year deal, maybe 2, maybe, then Mike McCarthy's agent is on the phone with the Dallas Cowboys saying, well, all right, so what are we doing with my guy? I mean, that's just how it works. You cannot go into a lame duck year and then expect to have a super year. It's not realistic. Not to mention the players. Are they fully going to buy into a guy who's, could be gone in 6 games? Let's face it. So you bring in a guy like Zimmer, who I really like as a coach. So that's why I say it, but I wouldn't feel comfortable. That's the way.
I know these Cowboys. They love to promote from within, but at the same time, they love their coaches that used to be head coaches as coordinators. So I mean, that's where you can see that Zimmer connection as well. Now, when you look at just what just happened with him taking the position. We talked about some of these guys taking, maybe going with him, going over to Washington, maybe a Curse, maybe a Fowler. There's definitely some guys, that you could see follow suit. We're talking about coaches, of course, that are a possibility of them leaving and going over. He just signed, so now you should probably be seeing some more moves. I don't know if it was, is it a more respect that they're not. I hear from Washington's side, and I got to ask you this because I'm more curious what you've heard. So, I'm hearing candidates coming in for an offensive coordinator position in Washington. What happened to Eric Bieniemy? It's like, to me, that would make a heck of a combination between him, Dan Quinn, So I'm just a little curious.
I haven't heard nothing on Eric Bieniemy. I've heard nothing. I've heard offensive coordinator Chip Kelly now since what's his name backed out of Cliff Kingsbury backed
Yeah, I saw that.
backed out of the Raiders job. Now he's one of the leading candidates to be in Washington. I'm a little, as a Dan Quinn fan, and I could care less about the Commanders. I'm a little concerned about his choices, but hey man, I know he can coach defense, and man, I love the quarterbacks in this draft. I love them. So he gonna get one. He gonna get a good one.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I do too. I like a lot of them.
If it would be very scary for him to bring in a guy like Chip Kelly, who has learned his, from his ways of the past. He loves running the ball. Give him that mobile quarterback. Oof, man, that could be scary, people. I'm just telling you, it could be scary. So we shall see. We shall see. But I think I think it's Zimmer or bust at this point, and I think our team kind of needs that crusty old guy right now. I don't think they need somebody who's going to be their best friend.
Let's break it down. I mean, when you look at Zimmer, we talk about the discipline, we talk about these rankings when it comes to his defense. I think the biggest thing that stands out I love is the linebackers. He gets linebackers. He actually has people that are like, you look at them and you go, oh, yeah, that's a linebacker right there. I mean, now you're looking at him and going, he's the kicker? No, he's not no, that's a safety coming down playing linebacker. And not to say that they haven't played great. I mean, Bell's instincts to get into some of those holes and just plug up the run and everything. So, I mean, he did a really, really good job. And, maybe an off-season of him hitting their weights, but I think it can only go so far. So, getting real linebackers in there, and I think a defensive coordinator that can really spot them is a big thing. I'm with you. Do you see any of our possible stars eventually kind of going from this ship to that ship with the combination of years?
Yeah. I see Ron Curse leaving. I see a few people leaving to go over there. Just off the top, probably Dante Fowler's gone over there. That's two. We'll see about Dorrance Armstrong. I would think you would want him back, but Dorrance Armstrong is very, very. He's going to be very sought after. I think we're going to be outpriced with him as well. I mean, how many guys do you know has?
I mean, watch he be in Washington, so maybe Armstrong in Washington.
7.5. I mean, he's got 7.5 sacks. He blocked a field goal. He blocked a punt. He plays loves playing special teams. He's like a Swiss Army knife type of guy, and that's on limited duty at the edge rushing position. I think his market's going to be big. So whether it's with Washington or whatever, but I definitely see Fowler and Curse definitely going over there, and they're gonna have he's gonna have the book on our offense. He knows his defense owned our offense in training camp, so it's not great, people. That's why I keep saying we need to go all in.
Well, I mean, even let's say they aren't successful this year. I mean, I give them a couple of years before they're going to be a big threat. I mean, he can put talent together with that money, with the draft that he has. He can definitely put enough. Okay.
I'm not saying to go for it, but I think they will. I think exciting, new. They're going to bring in unbelievable talent on top of what they have. Dallas is a first place schedule. It's already known that the team who wins the division usually doesn't win it back to back. Eagles defense is a train wreck right now. They would have. I mean, there's a lot that has to take place. But if you're asking me right now, hey, just give me the Commanders. That's just how I feel.
I think they have to overcome still a whole lot.
They do.
I mean, there is a lot. I mean, and even in the guys that they have right on their team. I'm not talking about, what talent do they need to fill the holes. I'm talking about the guys that can't catch first downs on third or fourth down, when the game is on the line. I'm talking about, who's going to be your quarterback, because guess what? There is some talent on there. I mean, Bryan just said, the quarterback position. You still got to pick it. How many people picked quarterbacks before Patrick Mahomes? Think about that. It's not always a science, and you're about to I'm not going to say waste a pick because that's not the case, because you could end up getting a really amazing talent. And it doesn't really matter where you get. I mean, look, San Francisco gets Brock Purdy by the end of the draft, and he fits perfectly into their offense. I'm not saying that he's amazing, because we've seen recently, as the playoff times are on the line, he hasn't played as great. So that team has been able to elevate him, I think. But rookie contracts. Anytime you can get that rookie contract, especially having available money, I think right now Washington's what Bryan's saying. I mean, they're in a good position to really put a team together, especially if you got somebody on a rookie contract. And then, of course, putting a defense together. I mean, you're going to have a lot of studs going out there. I know you brought up Patrick Quinn to the Eagles. I've seen him rumored to the Cowboys. If you're going to do this whole all-in type of mentality, I'm not even sure what the heck that means. Is it what we all think all-in means, or is it all-in on one?
I was going to ask you a serious question, Phil. Based on recent, and we're talking Eagles and Dallas, they both are desperate need, probably more so than anybody in the NFL. If you had to put $100 down and say, okay, you got two choices, who's going to sign him and pay him more, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
No, the Eagles.
The Eagle. Yeah. I'm sorry as a Cowboy fan, that bothers me to say that.
It does.
I'm not saying
I would rather have Patrick Quinn and stuff like that, but I mean, you're hoping that they use that money
I just think
other
that
places.
They're not going to be outbid. They've proven to restructure and go all in. The Eagles. And I told Mark this earlier. I said, I don't care if we make mistakes.
Really?
I'm not going to hold them accountable for making a mistake and pay somebody a lot of money, and he comes in like a Brandon Carr. Remember, I love that move back in the day. It didn't work out. I liked it. I mean, they paid him a lot of money. Give him credit for taking that shot. I just don't feel like our team's going to do that.
There's just certain moves that they always makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, I don't mind the whole draft day type of situation when you're moving back, getting more picks. They haven't moved up in a long time, but to me, I haven't really seen somebody in a long time that I'm like, okay, it's worth moving up for. Obviously some of that talent, you don't know whether it's going to be worth, trading your whole future to try to get a particular guy. But of course, defensive tackle is something I think it's something we need, but unless it's one of those guys where for sure you can kind of see the body of work and go, okay, this guy's definitely going to be a stud, and you're picking at the top 10, I think that's when you pick a good defensive tackle. But everything else is kind of just a gamble. You're kind of just rolling the dice, hoping that you pick somebody that's going to make a difference. Right now, of course, we got Monty Smith that he just has a problem getting off the ball, and of course losing all that weight. We don't know whether it's him, whether it's the coaches. So it's going to be interesting, where this team goes, because we have a lot of free agent guys, and so I think that's what you're talking about. Where Armstrong, if you're not going to pay him, or and which I'm okay with not, because of course you're gathering that money for something else. You have guys like Sam Williams, which of course the chat is talking about with Sam Williams. It needs to be more disciplined. We talked about that, where we've had times where we've got really upset with him, but there's been times where he's made some really big plays, so he has that playmaker ability. What do you think about Sam Williams in his future with Dallas and going into this offseason?
Well, he's going to get his opportunity. I think I thought I saw Ultra Cowboy.
Yeah, he was in here.
I thought I saw him say, he good riddance, Dorrance. I don't know about the good riddance Dorrance. It's hard to find guys like that. Dorrance, those are the kind of guys you win with. But I agree with him that you need to let Sam Williams play more. But just know he's a very undisciplined player. Yeah. He has not shown me that he could not do stupid things in big time. So we'll see. He needs to play more.
So when I look at
it's going to work out.
When I look at Dorrance Armstrong, I think I like his position, because this is what I was talking about with a team. When you talk about a Super Bowl team, yes, you have a star at the starter. Okay, that starter is good. He's making Pro Bowls or whatever. He's making differences in the game. But when that person is out, who's that next person that goes up? If you're giving me an 8-sack, 9-sack kind of guy that's in the rotation, I mean, man, I'll take that every single time. If I wish I had a whole army of that, because they add up after a while. I just don't want them all happening at the same game, right?
Ooh, David Cowboy. David Cowboy says trade Sam Williams to Dan Quinn.
It's not a bad idea. Some of those guys.
Here's the deal. There's going to be a lot. Don't be surprised if there's not a deals made between the two teams. Don't be surprised. And it's weird. It's weird to say stuff like that. I'm not saying Sam Williams necessarily, but don't be surprised if there's some wheeling and dealing, calls made, type of deal. So, yes, I agree.
So there's a lot up in the air, and I think until really the season gets going, of course. Yeah, you may not hear. Do you think you'll hear something? I mean, with Super Bowl, with this whole week and everything, I think you might. I guess there's no rush, right?
The hush hush. Everything is hush hush till after the Super Bowl. They don't want teams announcing anything. These interviews are going to take place after the Super Bowl.
So when I look at some of these guys, because they're talking about we're not trading Sam Williams. There's some guys on this team that I think they need.
We are
no, and right now I don't know what you have in Fehoko. I want to see some body of work. I think now you're going to probably see this upcoming season. Now you're going to be able to see him in preseason. You'll be able to see him play, maybe push some people. I'm actually kind of excited to see him. You just haven't seen anything of him, and so. I liked when I saw his, tape in college. I loved his motor and how he kept going until the end of the play. He just was really kind of dirty, and not in the sense of the dirty plays, but just really just hitting people. Loved hitting people. So I wanted to see that transition into the NFL, but of course not seeing the strategy that comes with these games. Having some of these guys walk eventually, because you can't pay everybody. Obviously, you can't pay everybody, even bringing them back unless you're they got some kind of injury, and I think that's the only problem that we run into. Because, for example, this upcoming year, what do we have? We have Overshown that's going to come back. We're really excited to see what he has. But again, he's coming off of that injury, so we don't know what kind of Overshown we're going to have. He was exploding through the holes before, so. You definitely need to go for linebacker. It's just what's the importance. I love your. I gotta say this. I gotta stop everything. I love your belt there, man.
You like it?
Yeah, that is nice. I was looking at it. I was like, oh, yeah, as I was talking.
That's an authentic. I bought it for my son a couple years ago. It's the Intercontinental title. But I brought it down because he don't have really a spot for it, and he had it in the case. I'm like, we'll throw it back here. We got the WrestleMania coming up. Mm-hmm. Even though they're all mad.
David Cowboy says, let's sign more players coming off of knee injuries for top dollar. Exactly, man. That's the issue with some of these guys. I mean, we you talked about it. I know one of the guys that you were talking about was a running back, was Brooks, in the sense that's another injury kind of guy. I mean, you're dealing with this a lot, I think. Tony Pollard, obviously one of those guys that we don't expect back, but we expect him to have a very good year no matter where he's at. What do I look at Tony Pollard and I see, for some reason, a team like Baltimore just like stamped right all over him, Miami or something like that. But it's just interesting. I mean, that would be kind of a move,
regardless.
Well, I'm just saying, man. We're finally in the situation. We got to pay Zeke still one more year of that dead money situation. So I mean, we might
$6 million we're on the hit for.
Yeah, and so if we can get something going with the running back situation, we're drafting a guy. I mean, you got, unless you're signing somebody, which I can't see that happening with, especially with getting burnt the way that we have. What do you do? Are you drafting? Are you going third, fourth round? You're drafting a guy, trying to use that turn wheel in the sense of every single year going into the draft. Are you drafting somebody hoping that you hit something? I'm not sure what the strategy is going there. Are you? Bryan, for you going into this draft, are you thinking offensive line? Are you thinking linebacker? What is your main position that you want to go? Other than, of course, I believe I'm with you when you say draft best player available. But if you had to go with a position, what would you go with?
I would go. Well, it's funny you say that because I was just messing around with the mock draft simulator. As you're talking, I'm just kind of looking at the names, and of course, where we're sitting, we're not going to get that. Like the guy that I want that center out of Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry, I want Jackson Powers Johnson. He's a stud from the word go. That's the guy I want.
And then is it one of those years where you go up and you get that guy by trading to go up? I mean, we don't hardly ever do that. Would he be a guy that you'd be willing to do that for?
Yes, because he's not gonna. It doesn't look like from what I'm. He's not going to go
top 12, probably.
Late teens, but this particular one he went 20. So we're sitting at 24. We need to get ahead of the Steelers, but it is what it is. We need offensive tackle also. So if you don't get Powers Johnson, but I think everything's it surrounds the center. I just think that's huge. Just look at all the successful teams. They have a stud center. Look at the Eagles for years. Look at Detroit. It's real. I mean, but if not, I think if you're talking first round, you're going offensive tackle. There's no doubt in my mind. That's what I would go with. You're not going to take a D tackle that high. You got Jordan Morgan. My thing is it'll either be Jordan Morgan or Tyler Guyton if I mean, there's a lot of tackles, so it's just pick your flavor. But I would say offensive tackle.
Let's be real. When we were talking about the draft the other couple years ago, Tyler Smith was one of those ones that wasn't on my my third, fourth round is where I had him, and so I mean a lot of teams were jumping to kind of grab him, and then when you look at his body of work in the NFL, man, what a pickup. So, I mean, you never know where you're going to pick that offensive talent. I bring him up, but Travis Frederick, I had no idea from any kind of guy from Wisconsin what he was going to be doing. Then all of a sudden, he just destroys it. We haven't been the same since he got since he was injured, and of course his health problems that he had. So, I mean, I would just like to say, I would like to see a change as well. I mean, you were talking coaching staff right now. Do you see anything on the offensive side of the ball? I mean, we haven't gotten rid of anything, so I think that the chances are very slim. But do you see any chances of changes on the offensive coaching staff?
Well, you got Brian Schottenheimer here. No, I don't see any changes on the offensive coaching staff. No, I see changes. My question is, are we going to bring in a veteran running back? I'm hearing every indication I'm hearing is no. The answer to that is no. They're drafting. My perfect situation would be to go out and get a Derrick Henry for 1 year. It won't cost you more than $5 million, $6 million tops. Maybe make it a 2-year deal, but make the guarantees on the lighter side, and then go draft yourself a Brooks out of the University of Texas. You'll get him in the second round. He's coming off an ACL. But just remember, they're going to use Deuce Vaughn a lot. He's going to emerge as more of a threat this year. You have Hunter Lepke, bring back Rico. And, I think that would be a perfect situation. But I don't see much in the way of a coaching change, especially, again, with a lame duck coach. I think you're kind of going to piecemeal together, maybe bring in a Zimmer since he's close to the situation. That's where I'm thinking.
I don't know if you're got your finger to the pulse of the finances and stuff. How much are we negative going into this offseason? Are we negative on the salary cap, or are we having to get under?
Oh yeah. As of right now, we're I want to say we're like 30 million under, but they haven't.
18.
They're going to restructure. Yeah, shout out to the 51 people in here. They're going to restructure. They've already came out and said they're restructuring Zach Martin, or they did and didn't disclose it how much it saved. Zach Martin and Trayvon Diggs are going to be restructured. So they could do a lot, but the first thing they need to do, and this will make Ultra happy, is they need to re-sign Dak. That has to be the first order of business. And if you're not going to do it, then you need to move on from him. You cannot bring him back on his final year. You either got to make that decision, and all indications that they want him. So you have to restructure a new deal. And it's similar to the Jalen Hurts deal, where the first 2 years negligible. Yeah, 20 mil.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you got to do it. You're going to save money on CD when you sign him for the first year at least of his contract. And we'll see about Micah. And there's a lot of questions there. I have a lot of questions. I love Micah. Does he fit in the 3-4? Mark seems to think that, and I don't want to jump all over, so I'll let you lead me.
You're good. I like the 3-4. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the 3-4. I think the reason why I'm a fan of it is because now you're taking a big, huge defensive tackle. You're putting him in the middle. You need somebody big like a Chris Jones type to really kind of anchor that defense. You're putting two right, left end guys that can move, but like an Osa type of situation where you can get upfield, you can rush the passer, but you're going to help with the running game. Lawrence, I think DeMarcus Lawrence really kind of falls into that category. But now you're also adding the element of the left and right outside linebackers. I think those guys being able to rush, if you get a guy like if you have somebody that, I'd rather him just passing or rushing, for example, now you got a guy like Micah that can move from the middle linebacker position to the outside linebacker position, either covering, catching somebody, or, of course, rushing the passer. So I think you get a potential from 3 rushers to 5 rushers, and, it doesn't really feel like a blitz, so it just feels like people are just coming, and you still got coverage with those other 2 linebackers behind it. And if you have some guys that are doing their job, those linebackers are going to be able to get free and kind of just help stop the run. So I'm a big fan of the 3-4 defense. It's just do we have the guys up front that can handle it? I mean, do you think so?
No, we would definitely need to add some pieces, but Micah would be a perfect linebacker in a 3-4. I think that D-Law.
You're right, Vinny.
What's that?
No, Vinny says Queen. I was like, yeah, Queen would be amazing. Reader, oh, I love that, Vinny. Reader, DJ Reader.
Yeah. Nice. I'm with Reader as well. That was what's his name? Jeff Kavanaugh's guy, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
he's 30, but
coming off an injury.
Exactly, but he's a big mountain of a man who actually can get penetration.
I mean, you might be right, man.
So I like that. I like it. You like that?
Yeah, I love Weed. Yeah, he's just he got hurt, and so that's where he missed the majority of the season. There's some defensive tackles out there. I think, of course, everybody's going to have their eye on that whole Chris Jones situation. Does he even leave Kansas City? Because we've had this before where they're like, I'm not going to play, and then he ends up playing for a big amount of money. So is he going to? I mean, because what else do they have? I mean, when they look at that defense, if he's not in there, they're not the same type of defense. So I think he can make a big impact no matter where he goes. It's just who's going to be able to pay him that money. And so, that's why when I get mad because I saw something with Bryan Broaddus, and he brought this up, and so this is what I'm going to point out when it comes to Stephen Jones. Like, He talks about somebody in the draft. He talks about this draft situation where somebody calls from Detroit, I believe, and they're offering somebody, hey, we're trying to get rid of so-and-so. Will you be interested? And his response is, who? Like, this is the player personnel guy. This is the guy that's supposed to know players, you know? We know more players' names than Stephen Jones. And instead of hanging up and going, okay, and asking the rest of the room, hey, this is who they're offering, you never know who you're going to be getting, and, he doesn't. And they call back, and he's like, oh, no, we're not interested and stuff. And he never really talks about anybody to the room. So to me, that's the guy that's going to be making those decisions. And so, yeah, it pisses me off because it's just you're not taking it seriously. You're not using your resources. You're kind of getting cocky about it. I make the final decision. This is my team, So it's just, I don't want that guy doing the finances. That's why I say I'm hoping that he's one of those owners that just wants to talk on the mic, just get in front of the camera, and let maybe Will McClay do the paperwork now. Because guess what? There's a salary cap. It's not like Will McClay's going to spend over that amount. You don't have to worry about your precious book and Scrooge McDuck type of thing where you're jumping into that gold and swimming. I could see Steven have like some kind of chamber in his house with all that money. So I'm just interested to see what happens. Go ahead, man. Give your frustration.
He didn't even talk to anybody about it. He took the call. Do you know who the call was? Supposedly it was the player was the running back Swift.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
And,
who?
Yeah. So what happened? They didn't trade him to us, and then Philly went and traded for him. And here's the thought: we don't need our cap guy making those football decisions. That's the problem with the Cowboys. Instead of looking over to Will McClay, you gotta. You don't say nothing to nobody, and then they call back and, hey, are you interested? Obviously, they wanted to make a deal with you. Nah, we're good. Oh, are we good, Steven? Give me a break, bro. Give me a break.
So, I mean, going into this offseason, I mean, you got some running back. There's a lot of free agency, so I'm interested to see what they're hoping, because Jerry says they're going to go all in, but again, what's their definition of all in? It's just one of those type of situation. It feels like a lawyer. Well, technically, I was all in because I did this, and so what's your definition? That's going to be the question. But again, going into this offseason, we don't have a defensive coordinator now. It's kind of up in the air. What's going to happen with our defensive secondary coaches? Is one leaving? Is a passing-gator coordinator? Is he leaving? Is our defensive line coach, that's been Durden, is he, the guy that followed Quinn all around, is he going to be gone? So there's a lot of questions that are up in the air about that. And
I like Durden, but I think he's gone.
I believe so too. I mean, I think he gets a lot of credit for guys that, and I like him. I'm not bashing him or anything like that. But at the same time, when they talk about his body of work, it's like, oh man, he's credit for D-Law, he's credit for Micah Parsons, he's credited for Osa. Is he really though? Like those guys just have talent. I don't know. I don't know if you could keep them down if even if you coached them crappy, they would still find success. So I mean, I just like guys like Zimmer, where we're talking about those kind of guys where they're going to use them more for what they're good at, and instead of just a switchblade thing. I'm more upset in the sense of the personnel that we've gotten in there. Every time we saw a defensive guy being brought in, it was always an ex-Atlanta Falcon. It was always an ex-Dan Quinn guy. So you should see a whole lot of that happening over in Washington, and Washington needs it. Let's be real, man. Washington needs that kind of stuff. So. D-Law 3 sacks. Well, I mean, to me, D-Law, he's a beast. I mean, a guy that kind of anchors down our defense and is great stopping the run, always makes his play out of nowhere. Does some boneheaded stuff from time to time, but as he's gotten older, that's kind of not been as bad. So, Sweat is graded as a third-round pick. Yeah, I mean, everybody... There is no, and as you're talking about, as you were talking about running backs, let's bring this up because I think people were talking about this as well. You were mentioning that there are no first round graded running backs, so trying to waste a first round draft pick on one of those running backs moving up, any of that stuff would just really be a waste. I mean, you may have somebody that's like a Pacheco that's but look, he even got drafted in the 7th round. Is how fresh are your legs? How what kind of an offensive strategy did you come from? Can you pick up the pro style running game, with ease? So I think there's a lot of questions here. But if you're picking running back, where's your sweet spot in the draft in general?
Yeah, well, just early on, and Ultra might know more right now. I haven't dug into it, but the draft is like last year, but without the Gibbs and the Bijan Robinson. You can get a running back through the first 4 rounds of the draft. It's just, again, what do you like? You got Benson out of Florida State.
I like him.
I like him a lot. He's a bigger guy. I like him, though. He's not going in the first round. And you got Jonathan Brooks, I believe, out of Texas. Love him a lot. This is where I think he'd be perfect. He's coming off an ACL. There you go, right off our alley. But if we go out and get a guy like a Derrick Henry or whoever, I'm not. Everybody's getting caught up with names, But I think that would be perfect to bring in a Derrick Henry. You have a Hunter Lepke already. You got to do Swan. Bring back Rico. You need a lot of backs, especially going into camp, and draft a young one. He likes Braylon Allen. Let's see. Braylon Allen. Okay. Braden Allen out of Wisconsin. Okay. Braylon Allen out of, has elite overall size and will be just 20 years old as an NFL rookie. I love that. So, yeah, I'll have to He's 6'2", 238, big boy. I wonder if he runs upright ultra. I don't know. I mean, like you would know, but
Well, Derrick Henry runs upright. Like, it's a weird thing to see.
You know, I could rattle off names, but yeah, that's fine. And he's looking at his, you know, probably third round. You you got to remember we're not at the top. We're kind of more towards the bottom of each round again. So it's better than last year by 3 spots, but we are, so it should be interesting. I'm looking as we start getting closer to the draft. I got to close the book on the season. I'm not like these scouts who got to already looking at everything. I got to close the book on the season and then we'll dig into it. But
yeah, I really haven't looked much into the draft.
It is getting exciting. Yeah, it is getting exciting.
Yeah, Buddy Johnson says game time. He goes, I would like to see Sean Lee as linebacker coach. Yeah, I mean, as these defensive positions get switched around, man, I would like to see a guy like that. Just somebody with some instincts that's able to teach some football. I think that's what you missed kind of on the sideline with some of these guys. Sean Lee was in there really getting in some of these linebackers' heads and telling them what to watch for. And if you had a guy like that teaching a guy like Micah Parsons, then that makes sense because now you're teaching him to learn the game. This is what you have to look out for. I think there has been some word going into this offseason about Micah Parsons in the sense that he's more of a lazy player. He doesn't want to think as a linebacker would, where you have to make instinct plays. You have to figure out the runs. You have to switch maybe defensive lineups. Yeah. And so he just wants to rush the passer. Do you see that as a possibility of something that that's happening behind the scenes?
What's up, Cole's Cowboys? What's up, buddy? How are you? I just watched your video. I commented on it, buddy. Yeah, man. What were you saying, Phil? I'm sorry.
I was talking about Micah.
I was looking at the chat.
I was hearing that there's a possibility that he didn't want to play the linebacker position because there's too many responsibilities with it. Him having to think before the play, whether you're getting people lined up correctly.
After taking everything that Jesse Holley was said and really sat down, I think that was totally off base for a lot of that. My man still had 14 sacks. It's not his fault. He's a young player. It's up to Dan Quinn to put him in a spot. And Dan Quinn from the get-go did not want to lock him down into a spot. Well, that for a young player, it's hard to play linebacker in the NFL, people. Mm-hmm. It's not that easy, especially for a kid like Micah who didn't play a lot of linebacker or your traditional linebacker at Penn State. He came out as a junior, did he not?
Yeah.
So it was like, remember with the COVID and all, he didn't have a lot of playing time. It wasn't like he had traits and he was a beast at times, but let's face it, things worked out for us. But it's not his fault that he can't be unbelievable at the edge rusher and then unbelievable at the linebacker spot. He did what the coach told him to do, Jesse. He was if the coach told him, no, you're a full-time linebacker, well, then he would have. I mean, this is the same guy in the offseason who went and worked out with the Rams Hall of Fame tackle, or soon to be Hall of Fame tackle. I can't think of the guy's name.
Whitworth.
Yeah, Whitworth. He went and talked to a lot of offensive tackle, big guy. Back in it. He's done everything he can in the offseason to get better. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what we're talking. That's
lay off of him.
That's what I like is the fact that he's had to go and reach out to people that have had that, pedigree, whether you're a Hall of Famer or whatever thing. But this is what I'm talking about in the sense that, like, when you talk about a Sean Lee, is for Dallas to be giving him the pieces to succeed as well. And so, not only are you going out and venturing and getting legends like Randy, he got DeMarcus Ware to kind of train him for a little bit of time. Yeah. Of course, picking his brain.
He had a bunch of people.
Yeah. So Leon Led at some point was there.
A lot of credit, man. A lot of credit. He's worked hard, man. It's just hard when you're flipping all around. You go play here. Oh my God, we have an injury. Go do that. That just shows you how talented he is. He's only going to get better. I'm not in the market of trading him. All I was saying was, if you're not gonna, I think it's like if you're gonna re-sign him, he's going to want a shit ton of money. Maybe play him in a scheme that fits him the best. And I don't necessarily think Dan Quinn's system was that. I think he could be even better in a 3-4. But whatever. If you want to keep him in a 4-3 and just go out and get stud D-line and stud linebackers, I'm okay with that too. And just leave him at the edge. I'm fine with that. But do we think they're going to go out and get a stud D lineman and a stud linebacker? And until
that's what we're hoping
it,
this offseason, right? But I'm with you exactly. Those words exactly that you just said right there. I do not believe it until I see it, and that's kind of my whole thing with their whole I'm all in. Ooh, I am sneezing like crazy right now.
God bless.
Yeah, because you know why? Because I smell bullshit when it comes to to the whole we're all in, and so I'm a little bit allergic to that. So when I see that, I mean the guys that's saying those words are the guy that's talking about how he doesn't really have that control anymore. You know, he still wants to just kind of be in front of there and just talk about the decisions that are made. But you know, we just need to fill in. I think there's going to be some tough decisions. I think, you know, you're hoping that they don't, you know, step on their own heels in the sense of signing guys back for money that we could be using somewhere else. You know, that's what we're talking about with Tony Pollard. You know, instead of letting him walk, or you know, hey, this is $2 to $3 million a year. This is what we're going to be offering you. We all saw it. I mean, a lot of people were clamoring for him to be the starting running back, but he's a complimentary guy, and that's nothing against him. He needs a power runner. And I think the 1-2, what is it? Remember the Warwick Dunn, Mike Allstott, WD-40 combination, you know, where you have your fast runner and you have your power back as well, too. I mean, that's what you need, and that's where he's great at. I mean, he did that, in college as well, too. So I'm just interested to see what we do in the running back position because – you know, got Deuce Vaughn there. Are you going to do anything with that? I mean, is he too little really to play in the game that you're trying to play? Malik Davis, is that going to be back in the running? Is Rico Dowdle going to walk? So there's, you know, isn't he an unrestricted free agent or something like that?
Rico, yeah, he's unrestricted.
Yeah, so there's going to be some decisions. I'm not, you know, I don't think he did enough last year to where you're going to want to bring him back for a whole lot of money either. So, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening there. I mean, that's some of these offensive guys you could see going as well to the Eagles where, you know, Kellen Moore's over there. So some of these guys that he's liked over here, you may see them go over to the Eagles. So, I mean, as a combination of Washington and Philly, you're going to be seeing a combination of Cowboy people kind of going into those directions. So you're going to see a lot of kind of heartbreak if you like certain players on this team. You can see them in enemy colors just as easy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So again,
go
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to tell you.
That.
Crystal Carmel scoring.
QB like Troy, you know, when you need him, he's going to make that last drive to win. Yeah, it's been a while. Again, it's very frustrating, Crystal. I love Dak, but you know, we saw what happened in the playoff. We just can't make excuses for him.
No,
didn't have a good game.
When I look at it, though,
you can't make excuses for him.
No, and that's, you know, I lost some respect for him in this class because you did amazing during the whole season. But when we needed you the most, and when we need you the most, this is the game, everybody's watching this game. It's either you play well or you don't advance. And when those situations have come up, he just has not started out well. Yes, you may have played well by the end, and so that's where I look at. Yeah, this team actually did score 30 points. They did give up 7 on offense as well with the pick sixes and just in general interceptions. So they're that stuff. When we really need you to play as a $60-50 million quarterback, you can't be playing this crap and then expecting to get top dollar just because it's my turn up and you're betting. Is it really like Vegas where you're kind of just throwing the chips in the middle and going, well, I'm going to bet on him this year and we'll see if we win anything out of it. It's kind of the approach that I see with him. So as we talk about him, Trey Lance, you got to ask him. I know I've heard you talk about Trey Lance on your channel as well too. What do you see as the future for Trey Lance? Because you see a lot of people with different things talking about him, bringing him up. I think me and you have the same opinion about him, but go ahead and tell the people what you think about Trey Lance in that
my
future.
opinion on Trey Lance is he needs to be the backup quarterback this year. I think you got to say bye to
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush, and give him some snaps to be the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what needs to happen.
I agree. I think
that's as far as I know.
Yeah, that's when it comes to Trey Lance, I agree with you. Cooper Rush has to be kind of that next. Okay, you're going to be, whether you're going to Philly, because of course think about Kellen Moore. I mean, you're talking about offenses and people understanding his offense, and what better than your backup quarterback to teach the other quarterback.
He's a backup, Linda. That's all I'm asking for. Is a backup quarterback.
But I agree. I think
that's all. That's fine.
I think he's a backup quarterback. I don't trust him as well to come in here and just all of a sudden just start slinging it around and playing that. Go ahead.
God forbid, Dak or whoever, I would assume it's going to be Dak, is your starting quarterback, goes down with an injury. Now you got a young athletic guy, and I'd rather take my shot with him as a backup than a
Dan Marino-ish. Cooper Rush.
That's just me. He's not the starter. But again,
But you have potential to possibly trade him off as well, too. I think he's a good, trade possibility if you can kind of bring up his stock in the preseason, back up any kind of role like that.
Vinny, right now, I'm just being funny, but right now, I'm not saying Dallas right now. The same team hasn't won the division in forever, and it was the Eagles. So I'm not gonna say I ain't gonna be that guy. And go,
Vinny, don't worry about it, man. He thought the Giants were gonna do well this year too. So
yeah.
I like that. I keep trying to burn him with that one. I do. I like it.
This is true. I made a mistake on that one
because I was just like, "Are you kidding me? They did a worse thing by winning the season before, and they stunt their growth." And I think that's that's what you got with the opposite of Washington. Washington had a pretty solid, good team. When you look at them, they were tough to beat. They were in games. I mean, I'm not saying Sam Howell is the answer, but he's a really good backup if you're drafting your quarterback of the future and kind of getting him in there. So, I mean, he'd be a really good guy to come in here, change the pace. Oh, your quarterback's down or your quarterback's not playing well. He's a good guy to kind of change that. So you like the energy that he brings as a backup quarterback. Their defense, you got. I mean, when you look at Dan Quinn, he hasn't had the known, even when he's in Atlanta, drafting those big guys in the defensive line. And so when you're looking at Washington, they already have some pretty big guys on the defensive line. So he would already be stacked with some guys that he would probably trade away. Let's kind of be real. I don't even know if he would keep those guys. I just see the NFC East kind of shifting a whole lot. The only one I wonder about is the New York Giants. What do you see going on with the Giants? Because I think that's the one that, with no moves and the coaching staffs in the sense of switching teams, Ron Rivera's and Kellen Moore's and all that kind of musical coaches.
They'll be better, but marginally better. I mean, they can't help but be better. We'll see about Daniel Jones, what they're going to do with him. But they disappointed me big time this year. So, we shall see exactly what they're going to be. So,
you see Barkley coming back, or you see Barkley signing somewhere else?
Now, I think, they are talking. Well, they just came out and said they're going to talk to him at the combine. I think he should go. I think for Barkley's sake, you should run, my man. Go to a team with an offensive line. I would actually like to see Barkley on a team with a good offensive line. I think he's a very talented guy. So I would enjoy him to leave, if that sounds, just get out of there because their offensive line stinks.
Yeah,
it just does. So I don't think it's a waste for him to stay there. But I mean, money talks, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. I'd like to see Barkley go back home to Pittsburgh. How about that? Yeah. Go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That would be a really good because it would be enough where he wouldn't be in the spotlight, but he could do some damage through the season. You'd be like, "Oh man, look at him
going to Baltimore!" Right?
That's what Ultra Cowboy was saying.
Oh, did he? Okay. Smart minds think alike.
Jay Recruiter, he's talking about, he goes, name a QB that can win games by himself. Oh, wait, there's definitely some guys out there that are stubborn as hell. But they're definitely going to be your MVP type of candidates. It's hard to say young
Patrick
ones
Mahomes,
because
that's it.
Yeah,
that's the only quarterback in the NFL that can do that.
could probably give you, a couple more. But, yeah, I mean, whether you have bodies of work of guys that have actually done it, because, we could say certain people could do it. Oh, this young candidate could do it, but unless they have done it, it's just you don't really have a whole lot to piggyback off of. So,
right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting what's going on in the NFL. I mean, we've got the Super Bowl coming up. We're going to be, should we talk a little bit about that? I mean, I guess that's something that's happening, right?
Yeah.
Or do we wait?
I mean, next week, it's definitely happening a week from tomorrow. But, I think the last time I saw it was a 1 or a 2-point line or 1-point line. It was, I think it started at a 1.5. The closer this game's getting, the more I like a Kansas City. Yeah, I think Kansas City has the better coaching and Kansas City has the better quarterback. I think starting right there, what Kansas City did going into Buffalo, which I really thought they were going to lose that game. And then last week, going into Baltimore, dude,
that
Baltimore
was big. Yeah, that was huge.
Baltimore went into San Francisco and spanked their ass. I think that the Chiefs get the job done. They're just better at the two biggest possible positions. You might have one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Mahomes, and arguably one of the better coaches of all time. I like the Chiefs.
When you're talking about that, you're talking about they got the better quarterback in the sense of Mahomes. You got a better coaching in the sense of Reed and what they've been able to do. Just goes to show you, Eric Bieniemy was kind of just there as a looky-loo, some eye candy.
I'm not trying to be mean, but yeah, absolutely. I think that was it.
And you saw that with the whole Washington, the offense wasn't doing amazing well, but I can't really judge them too much by the first year. It's hard as an offense to learn a complex offense within that first year, and when do you use what? And so after a couple of years, that's when you kind of really have to judge whether they've been able to make an impact. So I'm interested to see if he's going to get that chance. But when I look at these two teams, man, you're right. He's got the better quarterback, better coach. But I think San Francisco just has the better team. I mean, overall, I just think they're a better team. And I mean, Detroit had a chance with their power running. Pachenko, man, that dude runs. I think somebody said it, and they said it to him, and they mentioned that he runs like a kid that just got new shoes in the store. Just like they put on new shoes. That's how he runs. And it's just fun to watch. I mean, he's just times where you don't think he's going to be caught. He gets like 7-8 yards. I mean, he definitely starts putting it to him. So yeah, I could definitely see why you would jump on that bandwagon because Kansas City has been able to turn it up at the right time. We've seen 49ers choke in these type of situations, but I definitely just think this is the team. And unfortunately, there's players on that team that we don't want to see win Super Bowls. There's two guys playing in the Super Bowl this year. You got for Kansas City, Kelvin Joseph, of course. Crappy-ass Kelvin Joseph that we sent out, and he was in trouble last year. And then, of course, you got Randy Gregory playing with the 49ers. So it's just like, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth to see these guys playing in there, especially with the guys that are so undeserving of it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say that I don't normally say those type of things, but I don't like either one of those guys, and I just can't. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking a little while ago when we started the live stream? Dan Quinn is he's righting a wrong, and you know what he's doing? He's going to the Washington Commanders to coach Jonathan Ridgeway that the team thought to expose. Now he's coaching them again. Wouldn't that be something if Ridgeway blows up right in our face? When me and Phil loved the pick when Dallas took him, only to dangle him, and of course they picked him up. Now he gets to coach him. Dan Quinn and Jonathan Ridgeway are reunited.
It comes back around.
Nice.
Comes back around.
Nice.
Yep.
He's like, F it, I'm going to my guy. So now he's there. So very interesting.
Oh, Ultra Cowboy says Ridgeway was cut because of Dan Quinn. He's trying to say, so you think there might be some bad blood there?
I don't know. He wasn't cut. Well, he was put on he was released, and they were trying to get him to the practice squad. But it wasn't because of Dan. I don't believe it was because of Dan Quinn.
They need to get rid of Gallup. That's what they needed to get rid of.
But who knows? It is what it is. He's got him now. Hey, maybe he'll trade him back to us.
So man,
he had a good year last year. So
a nice little hour has gone by. We're talking about
nobody. No,
but
we could use that nobody to try and stop the run this year. Maybe it's a J recruiter.
So when we look at these Dallas Cowboys, man, again, right after the Super Bowl, I think you're going to see some stuff get turned up. We'll get more into the whole free agency. Of course, you get to re-sign your own guys, and free agency comes up. So there's going to be a combination of stuff before you even get into the draft. By that point, you have a whole lot of problems. Did you not get somebody in the free agency for your tackle position? What happened with Tyron Smith? What happened to these guys that were going to be leaving? Who do they sign with? There's going to be so many things going into this offseason because there's a lot of free agents from this team, but is there really a whole lot of them that you want to bring back? And if you're bringing them back, is it worth the money? Because you're going to want to, again, free up some of those guys for some of that future stuff, and of course some of these free agency that free agent guys that you could possibly get. So Bryan, here we are, man. Week 2 of the offseason. I guess you could say of week 2 of this episode's, anyways. But Bryan, I mean, you'll be doing your lunchtime chat. How's that been going? Tell the viewers if they.
Well, man. Work sucks, but other than work sucking, that's the good part about it is I get to take a half hour and talk to the peeps. It gets lively sometimes. I don't know why people got to fight all the time. I don't see Asman in here, but my guy Asman is always talking about pinks. You got to love it.
Linda says,
East Side, the NFL has passed Mike Zimmer by.
I hope that's not cool.
Mike Zimmerman.
That's a whole different dude. That's a whole
Mike
different dude.
Zimmer? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how we can say he passed him by, but
no, I still think. I mean, his defense were up there even as a head coach, and you have a lot more responsibilities on your plate as a head coach, and you don't have to focus as much on one side of the ball. So
you too, Glimmer man.
So Linda says more questions than answers, just like the Eagles. Yeah, I agree, man. There's just a lot of questions, especially when you start switching defensive coordinators in general. You guys are doing it again in the sense of the Eagles. Washington's now getting in the whole thing. I think the only thing that's consistent is what? What are you laughing about?
Brad, I'm not arguing. I love East Side. I always defer to him. Come on now. I'm always nice to East Side.
All right, Bryan. Well, I think it's time to get out of here and watch some Pro Bowl stuff. Really, are you gonna watch any of that stuff?
I gotta get some stuff done around the house tomorrow, but I will get into. I need to sit and start locking in on some, just looking at some players. I need to start the process. So I think tomorrow is the day I'll do some of that, and I am gonna do a live maybe tomorrow late afternoon. I don't know. I'll go live for a while. We'll do something. So we'll have fun. So I'm missing football already, though. I could tell you that.
I totally understand. You got the USFL
tomorrow.
You got USFL. You got the XFL. I don't know. I can't remember what they were calling UFL
or
UFL. I think is what they call it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. I haven't got excited about it at all in the previous years. But this is the first year where I feel like maybe, especially since the talent that we've gotten. I mean, think about what we got. Turpin in there. We got, of course, a nice little kicker that did a great job this past year. So I'm interested to see these guys. Oh, there it is. The star of the show is finally there.
Daisy's here.
Exactly, Vinny Aubrey. That was a nice little addition. Something that we were worried about. Remember, Money Maher was our glimmer of hope, and then 4 misses in a row. You did finally see something at the end of the season. He was on this nice little campaign to get perfect field goal kicking, and then, of course, right at the last game, there goes one gets blocked, and then the other one he just misses. But, you got some kicks in there to kind of get him credit back, and then, of course, some long ones at the end. So I'm interested to see if there's anybody that we can pick up for this Cowboys team because, man, we're going to need it. So, Bryan, you got anything to say to the folks before we get out of here?
Nah, everybody, us Cowboy fans got to keep our head up. We're expecting the worst, but maybe we'll be surprised. But what I am going to do is continue to put the pressure on. If you notice, a lot of YouTube content creators are doing the same thing. We're not going to let them slide. they're going to try and say, "Oh, we got one person." No, you need a lot. You need to do moves. You need to do a lot of things. And you know, you can say what you want about the Philly fans, but they're very vocal. Some would say I don't know that we influence the outcome, but a lot of Eagle fans think that they do because they just are relentless. We want this, we want that. And that's what I'm going to do with the Cowboys. I want my team to go out and make some friggin' moves early on in free agency. Yeah. But, that's all we could do is just keep harping. I'm not trying to be negative. I hope it all works out for us. But we'll be here to talk about it, right? It's never a dull moment being following the Cowboys. So
from the week before the week, I was like, okay, we're gonna see where it kind of goes, and then of course the whole Dan Quinn kind of wrote itself, and everything kind of as I think the rest of the tumbleweed kind of follows. You're gonna see some heck of a news and some there's a lot of moving around pieces. So I'm interested to see where this Cowboys direction goes, because of course there's no rush to get to any of that done. So let's enjoy the rest of this little NFL season. But Bryan, I appreciate you coming through. Guys, I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, subscribing, writing down, talking crap. We love it all here on this channel. But one thing that we do appreciate that you don't forget to do is do what?
Ring that bell.
Damn right, guys. Have a great night.
Hey! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
What you do, you're like a little screw loose type of guy, and I thought that's how I am. So I'm digging it, big guy. I am.
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
Gametime Bryan, otherwise known as the mailman here.
Cool name. Superpowers?
Broadcasting from the illustrious Jobu Studio.
Come on, are you going to tell me who that is?
Primetime Phil, and of course my co-host, Gametime Bryan.
Oh, Jesus Christ, this place is going to explode. $100,000, I don't even need to hear it.